Okay, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Let's fire this bad boy up in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, guys? Alex here, and welcome to the first edition of a Fine Edition. Today we're reviewing the brand new Black Series Force FX Elite Baylan Skoll Lightsaber. This, I believe, is due to drop in stores April 10th, and I actually pre-ordered this from GameStop. And I got a call saying it was in early, so I jumped at the opportunity to pick this up. And so far, I haven't seen any other reviews of this saber, so I'd like to think that maybe I'm one of the first people to get my hands on it. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a review. Let's open up this very nice box and see what's inside. I started collecting lightsabers last year, and for a while now, Baylan Skoll has been my #1 most wanted lightsaber. So when this was announced back in November, I started counting down the days until it would be a fine addition to my collection. We have a very nice 3-piece metal stand here, and I believe you get a similar one with every Force FX lightsaber. And here it is assembled. An instructions manual here too. Please do not overlook this. Now let's take a look at this gorgeous hilt. This is a metal hilt, like most other Force FX sabers, and it's got some heft to it. Here's the ignition button, and on the back here is the secondary button. Kind of surprised it didn't just use this red button as the ignition switch. At the bottom, we have a nice hook, so you can put that on your belt. But of course, what is a lightsaber without its blade? Let's get this thing out of the packaging. Please forgive my inconsistent lighting. And this is a pretty nice touch. They actually put the name Baylan Skoll on the blade, and it looks to be the same length as the other Force FX blades. To put some batteries in, just unscrew the bottom, take out this cartridge, and you will see that you will need 3 AA batteries. Just ignore those top 3 screws right there. Instead, you're going to want that screw right there to come out, and you're going to want to use a skinnier screwdriver than that. Back to the top of the hilt, you're going to want to remove the main emitter and twist off this display piece so that you can insert the blade and then weave the emitter back on through the blade. You might have noticed a little bit of weathering around the emitter, which is a nice detail. Now I think it's time we take this for a spin. Let's fire this bad boy up in 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello. Okay, it's definitely orange. I was a little worried that they would just make this another red lightsaber, but they have in fact brought a new color to the Force FX line. Here's a little side-by-side comparison with an actual red lightsaber from that same line. It's a little similar, but just different enough to stand on its own. Let's take this thing for a swing test. As you can probably hear in the background, it is raining. I mean, this is Vancouver in the springtime, that's kind of to be expected, but I think it kind of lends to the atmosphere. Very quiet saber, I noticed. Like, it's not alarmingly noisy like some other ones, but I kind of like that. Has that kind of low humming noise that you see in a lot of red sabers, kind of like Darth Vader in a sense. As far as clashing goes, it's decent, I suppose. Not the most consistent though, it doesn't always register. That being said, when it does connect, as you're noticing, the clashing noise is not as snappy or as quick as some other sabers. And being a Force FX saber, it comes with some bells and whistles. If you tap this back button here, you'll hear some blaster effects. Point the blade upwards and hold that same button and you have this dueling effect. And if you point the blade downwards and hold the button, it looks like it's cutting through something. One thing I have noticed is that when you press the main button to deactivate the saber, sometimes it'll take an extra second to register and power down. And there you have it. Here's the hilt on the display stand. When you're not swinging it around, this will look really nice displayed. The bottom attachment of this stand was designed so that the pommel ring could slide in nice and securely. I myself don't really use these stands, but I'm looking into getting some wall mounts. I want to say this is about mid-range in price for a Black Series lightsaber, about $250 American and $350 Canadian. It's not quite as expensive as the Luke lightsaber or the Ahsoka, but it is more expensive than the Leia or the Ventress sabers. So let's go over some pros and cons. In general, having an orange lightsaber on the market, that to me is a pro. And I know for a fact that there are fancier lightsabers out there that you can turn orange or pink or whatever color you want. But as far as something you can find in a GameStop or a Walmart or wherever, this is nice to have as an option. Additionally, I really like this hilt. It's a bit longer than the average lightsaber hilt, which is what they were going for because Baylan Skoll kind of has that broadsword fighting technique, and they really capture that here. I don't know if it's as long as it needs to be to fulfill that, but either way, it looks nice, it feels nice, it's not overly heavy. And lastly, this has a great sound font. Like, it sounds like the saber in the Ahsoka series, and it just seems to really flow well when you're swinging it around. But like any lightsaber, there are some cons. The first one that comes to mind is the button placement for the ignition switch. It's in a bit of an awkward spot because if you're swinging this and your hand slips upward, it can easily turn it off. Which again begs the question, why wouldn't they just use that red button at the top as the ignition switch? My second con is that this lightsaber feels a little bit disproportionate because while I like the longer length of the hilt, the blade is just a regular size Black Series blade, whereas Baylan Skoll had a longer lightsaber blade, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel that in this instance, they should have given it a little bit more length on the blade. And lastly, as I mentioned before, the collision is a little bit spotty. I wish it was more consistent. However, this is mainly a display or cosplay saber. It's not really meant to be heavily dueled with. So for that reason, I can kind of forgive it. All in all, I would absolutely recommend this lightsaber for your collection. It's fairly reasonably priced. It's a great looking saber. Got a lot of cool features to it. And maybe if you pre-order at GameStop, you can get it early just like me. There's a lot of high-tech saber companies out there with their own Baylan Skoll model that can do a lot more things than this saber can, and that's great, but if you're a casual kind of collector, then I'd recommend picking this up. And that's my first ever lightsaber review. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what saber you want me to review next. Until next time, I'm Alex, and I'll see you on the next one.